What are your thoughts about Wānaka Airport?
Well, it's been very clear from the community that no wide-body jets are coming in, and that there needs to be far greater consultation between QLDC and the airport and the community for any future development. I think as a community, we've said what we don't want the airport to be. I think a role of the community board is to say this is what we do want the airport to be. So I think there needs to be some discussions around that. Does it continue in a general aviation sense? Yes. Is there opportunities for using it as an industrial hub there with the land that's around there? Maybe. Yeah, I think these are the questions the community board could lead.
Can you outline the key learnings from the recent High Court ruling about Wānaka Airport?
Well, I'll be honest, I didn't read the full judgment, because even though I've got a legal background, it was pretty weirdy, but I did read the summary and I got a pretty good understanding from that. The consultation wasn't up to scratch. It's very obvious there. And that's what the judge said. And then therefore the lease that was the 100-year lease is void. So back to the drawing board there. So that was the key takeaways there. I know there was lots of arguments put backwards and forwards, but the judge basically said that there's no need to determine on those. Key thing is not enough consultation, didn't comply with the Local Government Act, the lease is void, sorted out.
Great, thank you. So how have you informed yourself about airport issues?
Well, I mean, it's been in the public arena for quite some time now. You read what's happened in the media. I do know some of the executives at Queenstown Airport, so I have met with them and understand their side of things. I've listened to the Christchurch Airport, Mike Singleton, I think it was, did a presentation here about what's happening at Caris. I'm across the Wānaka Stakeholders Group as well. So, I take a very keen interest in that. I've obviously got a very strong focus on transport, which does happen to be more land transport focused, but any airport development and stuff has huge implications on the network, the wider transport network. So I think I'm pretty well briefed. Yeah.
The Martin Jenkins report that came out in 2020's also got a good overview of the impact of airport infrastructure in the Queenstown Lakes District. That was commissioned by the council. So were you aware of that at the time? Possibly?
Yeah, I was, because I was actually on the panel that selected Martin Jenkins for that report, and I had a lot of learnings from that. I didn't think Martin Jenkins was the right organisation to undertake that. I think they were too economic focused. It was clear from their tender bid documentation, and that my preference was someone that had a much greater focus on the social side of things and the community side of things. I think maybe the relationship between that organisation and QLDC was too long, and there wasn't a lot of objectivity there. And it was too much Queenstown-centric focus. Their background work had been done in Queenstown, and I advocated very strongly that we needed an organisation that could really dig deeper into the upper Cluthers thinking. And I'll be honest, some of that was proved to be correct. So, yeah, that report wasn't really an effective use of the money, the 200K or so that was spent on that, I don't believe. And I'm hoping there's been some learnings for council about how they procure professional services around this community consultation area.
Who do you believe should determine the future evolution then of Wānaka Airport?
Well, it has to be collaboration between the community and the council and the airport itself, and Queenstown Airport's part of that. I don't think one party has any greater say than the others. I think there's collaboration. I think the district plan allows for a liaison group to be established. I don't think, from what I know at the moment, that that's been established, and I would have thought that would be a great vehicle to help determine the future of Wānaka Airport.
So yes, the next question was, what did you know about the Wānaka Airport Liaison Committee?
Yeah. So it's been around. I mean, the concept has been around for a long time. It hasn't been established. I think it needs to be. When I looked at the constitution, how it was going to be constituted, it did look to be very, very airport centric around the makeup there. I think there was one from the community board and maybe one from another community group. So I know it's an airport, and I know that that you need to have aviation specialists there. I thought maybe the balance on that liaison group could be slightly more community centric, but if I'm on the community board, I would be pushing pretty hard for that organisation to be constituted, independent chair, and help it to lead discussions around the future of the airport.
So you'd obviously support the establishment of the Wānaka Airport Liaison Committee. Do you have any particular ideas as to how you go about that?
Well, I think I thought it needs a strong terms of reference that needs to be agreed by all parties, and I think the community's got a role to play too in that. And then I did like the fact that it was going to have an independent chair. I think that's really important. Obviously, I come from a governance background, and I do that for a living, ensuring that there is, fit for purpose, broad, diverse experience around that table, good lived experience, and a good community focus. So I think the constitution, as in setting it up, isn't going to be that difficult. What will need to be is really clear terms of reference and a really clear set of understandings as to what this organisation will achieve and in what time frame.
So next question, what do you see as the key issues and considerations driving the airport's future?
Well, I look at everything through an environment first lens. So environment is the first one, and the climate crisis is a big thing around that. We have to look at whether, obviously, it's going to continue to be a general aviation centred airport, or whether there is scope for it to be more regionally based, non-jet airport. So that schedule of services. So that does look at the utility that's required of an airport, being for business and individuals, the community here, getting that balance right. So I see those are probably the three things: is its use as a regional commuter and freight airport, the environment, and can it, particularly with Silverlight setting up just down the road, if that continues to go ahead, what is the role of the airport to be a broader sort of commercial, industrial area?
So broadening it out a little, what is your stance on carbon emissions, and what should the QLDC be doing? Can you be as specific as possible?
Well, I submitted to the climate reduction plan and to the biodiversity and climate action plan for the council. So I'm going to read that out just to say that I am heavily vested in this area with the submissions that I make. I've always been critical of QLDC around it being all about adaptation and not mitigation. So it was all about, this is coming, can't do much about it, how are we going to adapt to it, as opposed to, I think there was a much greater role around the mitigation of emissions and CO2, so greenhouse gases. So my focus particularly on transport. 40% of emissions in the district are transport related. I'm obviously a big proponent of active modes of transport, so less driving and more active modes, biking, walking, etc.
And your position on the proposed new airport at Terrace?
I just don't see how you can have a national climate reduction plan and a climate action and biodiversity plan in the district and then have a major airport, international airport, on the doorstep. I just can't see how those two correlate.
How do you see your role, how do you see the role of the Wānaka Community Board, and where should it fit with council?
I think because the council is primarily headquartered and based in Queenstown, I always had concerns that the executive team there are focused on Queenstown issues because that's where they live. The children go to the schools there, they walk or bike or drive past certain issues. So I feel that the focus has been very much on Queenstown, and that Queenstown gets the prioritisation of resources. So I think the community board needs to be a really strong voice for our community, making sure that we get our fair share. And I mean that in a way of, being 90% of the time collaborating, and then 10% of the time, getting a little bit antsy about, hang on, this isn't fair here. So the community board needs to listen to the community, but it also needs to lead in the community as well, because some of these issues won't have absolutely unanimous support. So I am a big proponent of ensuring that the agenda and the work plan of the community board isn't just dictated to by QLDC executives, as in, here's what you need to do, just go away and do it. It needs to be balanced between what's required and also what the community wants. So I'll be pushing very hard to be proactive with what's on what we discuss and decide on, as well as being reactive to what's put in front of us by QLDC.
And there is a bonus final question. So you've got a minute. You've actually gone quite quickly, Simon, but you've got a minute to address the people of Wānaka. So it's over to you. The floor is yours.
Yeah, sometimes it's harder to be succinct than it is to waffle on me. Look, it's pretty clear what I stand for here, and I've alluded to that during the discussion. So if anyone's still watching this video, the 6 things I stand for is ensuring that Wānaka gets its fair share of resources and the prioritisation of those resources. Any town centre redesign, I want people and active transport to be at the heart of any town centre redesign. I want to ensure that the work that I've started and the team around me for developing a walking and cycling network around Wānaka, that's completed as soon as possible. I see the community board supporting local businesses to succeed. And at the moment, that's very much focused around labour shortage, and around labour shortage is housing affordability. And I'd like us to market Wānaka as a destination, not just to come and visit, but to come and work here and get our fair share of people that are coming to this region to work, to come to Wānaka rather than somewhere else. Should be pretty clear from my answers that I'm a guardian of the environment, the natural environment. So I look at things through an environment first lens. And finally, the key thing I see is empowering our volunteer community to continue their amazing work. I want council to play a role in empowering and enabling our great organisations here to do their work, and council not feeling that it has to be responsible for deciding and delivering on absolutely everything. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Simon.